I love campaign furniture. It's one of my favorite styles. It's probably because it has brass accents, which is a little fancy because I'm a little fancy. But I picked up this dresser on my local Facebook marketplace. So the ad said that it had a dresser, it had a desk, and it had a mirror, all for $100. It's a little suspect. I could tell by the pictures that it was a campaign style. It wasn't the best picture, but I contacted them, went right away, picked it up, and I could tell it was probably either like a Drexel or a Lane or a Thomasville, and it was a Thomasville. So it's in very good condition. I was hoping that all I needed to do was tone it, but the top does have a little bit of damage, so I'll show you what I'm going to do.
So I always like to start with taking my hardware off, and then I put the screws back in the hardware, and I put them in a dedicated Ziploc bag so that I can make sure everything stays together, and then I will clean them later. I also like to number my drawers if possible. And so sometimes if you have drawers that are a little wonky, you might try moving them around because they might have gotten out of order. Then I'm going to go in and do a really good clean. I like to start with my shop vac and give it a really good vacuum, and then I'll follow that up with a cleaning with a degreaser. I either use TSP or I use Awesome. I know a lot of people use Crud Cutter and Simple Green, even Blue Dawn Power Wash. Some people use that as well. So it's just something to a really good degreaser so you're getting a really deep sanitation. So they had used painter's tape to hold the drawers in. So I got to get all that adhesive off. The goal with this piece is to tone it. Now, to tone a piece, what you need to do is you need to clean it with a 50-50 mixture of denatured alcohol and water. You need to give it a good sanding with a high grit of sandpaper, and then you're going to apply a gel stain over the existing finish, and that is just going to refresh your finish. So I'm using nutmeg. This is by General Finishes. I'm just going to apply it with a stain applicator. You usually go against the grain, and then you're going to go with the grain. Then you're going to remove any excess with a lint-free cloth. You can really see the magic on this side. The gel stain just goes into all of those little grooves, and it's just really reviving that finish. I had some scratches and some gouges on the top, so I filled it in with some colored wood filler, and then I'm just going to sand it back so that I can go ahead and do the toning on the top. While that dries, I'll work on my hardware. I'm just going to boil some water and I'm going to add some vinegar to it. And then I'm just going to let it set. It can set for a couple days, especially if it's real brass, which I did test it. It's real brass. So I'm just going to let it set and then I'll come back later and polish it up. So after the toning, you can tell it didn't look great. So there was still some areas that were damaged. I had to sand a little bit deeper to kind of work on some of the scratches. So it just didn't work. And so sometimes toning works and sometimes it doesn't. So if your finish, especially for the top, I like the finish on the top to be as near perfect as possible. And so it obviously tops, they just get a lot of wear and tear. So I've decided I'm going to go ahead and just strip it. And because the body and the drawers look great, I'm going to leave those, but I'm going to go ahead and strip the top. Now I've decided to go ahead and use my carbide scraper. You can use a lot of different methods to go ahead and strip a top. You can use actual stripper, you can use a sanding, you can use the carbide scraper. Because it's a flat surface, scraping is a really great alternative to use. I went back and looked at my time on this and it took me 45 minutes from the time that I started scraping till I sanded through all of the grits and I was ready to re-stain. So 45 minutes is really good because if I were to apply a stripper, let it wait, let it set, do its thing, maybe come back and have to do a second coat, then I'd have to actually let it dry out before I could do anything. So you can imagine 45 minutes, start to finish, and boom, I'm ready to re-stain. That's pretty good. Obviously, if I had carved areas or I had spindles, that's where your stripper comes in because you can't really use this carbide scraper. I mean, I guess you could, a small one, but that would just be a lot more tedious. So again, I'm going to sand through the grits. I'm going to start with 80 grit sandpaper and I'm going to go up to 120 and I'm going to end at 180. I'm giving it a final clean with a 50-50 mixture of denatured alcohol and water. You can also use mineral spirits. But I'm really looking for any scratches that I might have missed. Are there any swirls from the orbital sander? I want to make sure I have a really great surface for stain. For the top, I decided to use a 50-50 mixture of the nutmeg with the antique walnut. So, on the sides and on the drawers, I already had an existing finish. And because I sanded to raw, I need it to be a little bit darker. So that's why I'm bringing in that antique walnut. I'm going to do a slip coat of mineral spirits before I apply the gel stain. It allows the gel stain just to slice across the surface really easily. Once that's dried, I'm going to apply 2 coats of Osmo's Poly-X Hard Wax Oil. It's a very durable finish, and it also provides a nice low luster shine. I'm going to do my final cleanup on my drawers. These are the small things that can kind of set you apart as a refinisher. You see I have a little spot there where I have some of the stain. I'm just going to go in with some mineral spirits and a high grit of sandpaper. I'm just going to make sure I clean that up. These are those small little things. Let's say you have some paint overspray or things like that. Those are those small things that, you can clean up. It takes just a moment to clean them up. It'll just give your flips a little bit more of a professional feel by catching these little things. Then I'm going to go ahead and line my drawers. Now, a lot of times my drawers don't necessarily need lining, but for some reason, my buyers love liners. And so I tend to put them in most of my pieces. And I've gotten pretty good at it because I do it so often. If I don't have a buyer in mind, I put in a neutral liner. I like to use this one because it's geometric. This is white and gold. And I have a couple that I use that are just kind of neutral, not overly masculine or feminine. And they can kind of fit any buyer. Now I'm ready to polish up my hardware. It's had its soak in the vinegar, and I'm going to follow up with Barkeeper's Friend, this is their powdered form. They also have a liquid form, but you can use either. And you can either just use a Scotch-Brite pad like I'm using here, or you could use a very high grit of steel wool to polish those up. Then I'm going to seal them with some lacquer to slow down the tarnishing process.
Here.
Yeah.
Do we have enough?
Let's look back at the before. This was a really good find. Sometimes your best finds are the ones that have the worst listing pictures. So don't be deterred by bad pictures. Obviously, there was some damage on the top that in the end I ended up having to strip and refinish. But thankfully, the drawers were in great shape, the sides were in great shape. And here's the final product. Didn't it turn out really good? Toning is such a great technique to have in your toolkit. And you can see those drawers didn't need much. They just needed a refresh. And obviously I'm glad I added the extra antique walnut on the top and needed it for that extra depth. But what do you think? Have you tried toning? Is there a project maybe that you think maybe you could apply it to? I think it's a great technique. And I think this one turned out really good. Thanks so much for watching.